What are you doing, idiot? Please, stop it. My husband is right there and he can caught us. I don't want to cheat on him, but he came more closer and pushed it more against me. I'm a 40-year-old Muslim woman, born and raised in Texas. I'm confident in my skin, comfortable with who I am. I'm curvy, soft in the places women are often told not to be, but my husband has always adored every inch of me. We've been married for almost 2 decades, and I still see the love in his eyes when I catch him watching me cook or laughing at my stories, even the ones he's heard a dozen times. We've built a good life, honest, steady, with the kind of love people hope for but rarely find. I never thought I would cheat, never even imagined it. The idea felt foreign, offensive even, like something that happened to other people, people with problems, or cracks in their marriage. We didn't have cracks, sure. We had our routines, our comfortable silences, maybe a little less spark than we used to, but I loved him with my whole heart, and I believed that was enough. And maybe it would have been, if not for that one day. It was a Sunday. We had errands in the city and decided to take the subway to avoid the headache of downtown traffic. It was something we did from time to time, just part of living in a place where parking can ruin your whole afternoon. The station was busy, but we didn't mind. We held hands on the platform, laughed about something one of our kids had said the night before. Everything felt normal, familiar, safe. When the train pulled in, it was already crowded. We pushed our way inside, and I spotted a single open seat. Without thinking, I guided him toward it. You sit, I said gently. I'll stand. He tried to protest, but I smiled. I'm fine, really. And I was, at least, for the first few minutes. I held the railing above my head as the train lurched forward. People packed in tightly, shoulder to shoulder. I didn't think much of it. It was a weekend crowd, full of tourists and locals, chatter and body heat. Then I felt someone behind me. Close, too close. I tried to adjust my stance, shifting slightly, but the man behind me seemed to follow. I glanced over my shoulder. He was tall, well-dressed, maybe in his early 30s, stylish, clean. He looked confident in that way that made you assume he belonged in whatever room he walked into. My first thought was, he's gay. Maybe it was his posture, the way he carried himself. Whatever it was, it disarmed me. I thought, he's harmless, and so I didn't say anything, didn't move again. But as the train continued, something shifted. His presence wasn't just passive anymore. He leaned into me. His hand grazed the side of my hip, subtle at first, maybe even excusable, but then it lingered, and then it moved. I froze. My first instinct was denial. Maybe it's an accident, maybe I'm imagining it, but I wasn't. I could feel the pressure, the intent. My heart pounded. I looked down at my husband, still seated, scrolling through his phone, completely unaware. I tried to move forward again, but there was no space. The crowd had swelled even more. People were pressed against one another like sardines in a tin, and somehow, this stranger behind me, he took that as permission. His hand moved lower, bolder. There was no mistaking it now, what he was doing, what he wanted, and the sickest part? My body didn't recoil. Instead, it responded. I don't know how to explain what happened next, not in a way that makes sense. It felt like I left myself, like the woman I knew, the woman who loved her husband more than anything, stepped out of her skin and watched from a distance as her body made a series of terrible, irreversible choices. His breath was warm against my neck, his hand slid around my waist, my knees went weak, every nerve in my body lit up like firecrackers, and I hated that it felt good, not in a romantic way, not in a way that meant anything, but in a way that was raw, carnal, and terrifying. It was over quickly. A few minutes, maybe less, just a silent storm inside a moving train. No one noticed, not the other passengers, not the teenagers laughing near the doors, not the man I'd married, sitting less than 2 feet away. When the train reached our stop, the stranger stepped back. I didn't turn around. I didn't look at him. I just took my husband's hand and stepped off the train, like everything was normal. But nothing was normal anymore. I didn't speak for the rest of the walk. My husband chatted cheerfully, completely unaware that something inside me had broken. I smiled at the right moments, nodded, pretended to listen, all while replaying that horrible moment over and over in my head, like some twisted loop I couldn't escape. That night, I cried in the shower, silently, so he wouldn't hear. I scrubbed my skin until it stung, but I still didn't feel clean. I lay beside him in bed and wondered how he could still love me. still breathed so peacefully next to a woman who had betrayed him without even leaving his side. I've never told him, not because I think he wouldn't forgive me, though I'm not sure he would, but because I don't think I could live with a look in his eyes if he ever knew. The shift in his voice, the loss of trust, I couldn't bear to watch his love for me fade like that. So I've kept it inside, every day, every week, every month since. At first, I told myself I didn't need to confess because it didn't mean anything. It was just a moment, a mistake, but the truth is, that's exactly why it does mean something, because it had no purpose, no depth, just hunger and impulse and shame. I've tried to understand why it happened. I wasn't unhappy, I wasn't seeking attention, I didn't feel unloved. Maybe it was just the powerlessness of the crowd, the anonymity of the moment. Maybe it was some part of me that had been buried under years of being the good wife, the good mother, the good woman, and it broke loose for one terrifying second. I don't know. What I do know is this: I've never felt the same since, not as a wife, not as a woman. I still laugh at my husband's jokes, I still fold his laundry with care, I still pray next to him at night, but deep down, I feel like an imposter, like the love I give him is tainted by the secret I keep. Sometimes, I think about that stranger, not because I want to, but because I can't help it. I wonder if he remembers me, if that moment meant anything to him at all, or if I was just one of many women he's touched in the shadows of crowded places. It sickens me, the idea that I became part of something so empty, so violating, and yet, so disturbingly easy. I hate myself for it. And yet, I haven't changed much on the outside. I still look like the same woman, I still bake the same cookies, wear the same lipstick, laugh at the same family photos, but inside, I carry a quiet, persistent ache, a whisper that tells me I failed, not just him, but myself, my faith, my vows. I know some people will judge me, I would judge me too, if I didn't know the whole story. I'm not here to excuse what I did, only to tell the truth, because the truth has weight, and carrying it alone has made my soul tired. Sometimes I wonder what would happen if I did tell him. If one evening over dinner, I just said, "There's something I need to confess," would he walk away? Would he cry? Would he forgive me? I don't know, and maybe I never will. But if sharing this story does anything, I hope it makes someone out there feel less alone in their mistakes, not justified, not excused, but human, because that's what I am. At the end of the day, a human woman who loved her husband more than anything, and still somehow did the one thing she promised never to do. The weight of deception carries a peculiar gravity, one that seems to alter the very fabric of reality around you. In the months following that fateful Sunday on the subway, I've become intimately acquainted with this altered state of existence. Every morning, I wake up next to my husband, watching the gentle rise and fall of his chest, and feel the distance between us growing like an invisible chasm. Despite our physical proximity, the guilt has become a constant companion, a shadow that follows me through the mundane routines of our shared life. There's a special kind of torture in maintaining normalcy when everything inside you is shifted. I still make his favorite meals, iron his shirts the way he likes them, and laugh at the same inside jokes we've shared for years, but each of these acts now feels performative, as if I'm an actress playing the role of a devoted wife rather than truly being one. The irony is that I love him more deeply than ever, yet this secret has created a barrier between us that only I can perceive. The memory of that day haunts me in unexpected moments. Sometimes it's triggered by something as simple as the screech of train brakes in the distance, or the particular way a stranger's cologne wafts through the air in a crowded elevator. In these moments, I'm transported back to that crowded subway car, feeling again the electric current of transgression, the simultaneous thrill and horror of my own betrayal. The shame washes over me anew, as fresh as it was in those first moments after stepping off the train. I've spent countless hours analyzing my actions, trying to understand the psychology behind my momentary surrender. Was it the anonymity of the crowd that gave me permission to step outside myself, the peculiar intimacy of being pressed against strangers in a public space? Or was it something deeper, more insidious, a part of myself I had never acknowledged, suddenly awakened by this unexpected encounter? The stranger himself remains a cipher in my memory, both vivid and vague. I can recall the precise pressure of his hand, the heat of his breath on my neck, but his face has become a blur, as if my mind is trying to protect me from the full reality of what transpired. Sometimes I wonder if he remembers me, if I'm just one in a long line of similar encounters for him, or if that moment stands out in his memory as it does in mine. The impact on my marriage has been subtle but profound. While our daily interactions remain unchanged on the surface, I've noticed small shifts in my behavior. I'm more attentive now, almost desperately so, as if I can somehow compensate for my betrayal through an excess of devotion. I touch my husband more frequently, seek out his company more often, listen more intently to his stories, yet each of these gestures feels tainted by the knowledge of what I've done. In quiet moments, I sometimes imagine confessing. I play out the scenario in my mind, the initial shock in his eyes, the painful questions that would follow, the inevitable transformation of our relationship. Would he be able to forgive me? Would he understand that it meant nothing while simultaneously meaning everything? Would he see that the woman who stood still on that train was both me and not me at all? The truth is, I'm not just protecting him by keeping this secret, I'm protecting myself. To speak it aloud would make it real in a way that even experiencing it didn't, as long as it remains unspoken. It exists in a kind of liminal space, a shadow realm between reality and nightmare, but confession would bring it into the harsh light of day, force us both to acknowledge its existence and deal with its consequences. The complexity of human desire and fidelity has become painfully clear to me through this experience. We like to think of ourselves as consistent beings, our actions aligned with our values and commitments, but the reality is messier, more complicated. We contain multitudes, as Walt Whitman said, and sometimes these different aspects of ourselves come into conflict in ways we never anticipated. The aftermath of my indiscretion has forced me to confront aspects of myself I'd rather not acknowledge. The capacity for betrayal that lives within me, the gap between my ideals and my actions, the complicated relationship between physical and emotional fidelity. It's made me question everything I thought I knew about myself and about the nature of commitment. This experience has also taught me about the nature of guilt and redemption. There's no simple path to forgiveness, no clear way to make amends for a transgression that remains unacknowledged. Instead, I've had to learn to live with this new version of myself, a woman capable of both deep love and profound betrayal, of loyalty and transgression, of honesty and deception. The most painful lesson has been about the nature of intimacy itself. True intimacy, I've learned, isn't just about physical closeness or shared experiences, it's about complete transparency, about being known and accepted in our entirety. By keeping this secret, I've created a barrier to that kind of intimacy with my husband, even as I strive to be closer to him in every other way. Perhaps the most disturbing realization has been about the fragility of our moral certainties. Before that day, I was confident in my understanding of right and wrong, in my ability to resist temptation, in the strength of my commitment to my marriage. Now I understand that we are all capable of actions that contradict our deepest beliefs, that fidelity is not a static state but a continuous choice, and that sometimes we fail not through lack of love, but through a momentary surrender to our own complexity. As I continue to navigate this altered landscape of my marriage, I've come to accept that there may never be a perfect resolution to this situation. The moment on the train has become part of who I am, a shadow in the tapestry of my life that I must learn to live with. The challenge now is to find a way to move forward, to be worthy of my husband's trust even as I carry this secret, to love him fully even with this barrier between us. In sharing this story, I hope to reach others who might be carrying similar burdens of guilt and regret, not to justify or excuse our actions, but to acknowledge the complicated nature of human relationships and the ways in which we can fail even those we love most deeply. Perhaps in understanding our capacity for both love and betrayal, we can move toward a more honest and compassionate way of being in relationship with others and with ourselves. The journey forward is uncertain, but I know that it must include finding a way to forgive myself while holding myself accountable, to love fully while acknowledging my imperfections, and to build a future that incorporates this experience without being defined by it. It's a delicate balance, but one that I must maintain for the sake of my marriage, my family, and my own peace of mind. Thank you for listening, for not looking away, for letting me speak the truth, even if it's ugly. And if you've ever found yourself in a moment you wish you could erase, I hope you find the courage to forgive yourself too, because I'm still learning how to do that myself. Please take a second to like this video if this story touched something in you. Subscribe to the channel for more raw, honest confessions, because life isn't always clean, and neither are the stories we carry. And remember, the deepest regrets aren't always the ones shouted from the rooftops. Sometimes, they're the ones whispered only in the dark.